Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. I'm Lorenzo.
And I'm Adriana, and today we're diving into The Tempest by William Shakespeare.
So, The Tempest is one of Shakespeare's later plays, and it's a story about magic, revenge, forgiveness, and the idea that everything, even power, is temporary. Prospero, who used to be the Duke of Milan, conjures a storm using magic to shipwreck his enemies on this remote island where he's been living in exile with his daughter Miranda.
Turns out, Prospero's been planning this for years. He's got this spirit helper, Ariel, and a not-so-friendly creature named Caliban, who he kind of enslaves. The island's full of strange vibes, lots of spells, and illusions. And there's a love story, too. Miranda falls for Ferdinand, the son of one of Prospero's enemies.
And by the end, instead of getting revenge, Prospero decides to forgive everyone, gives up his magic, and heads back to Milan. It's Shakespeare's take on themes of justice, control, and reconciliation.
So, after reading the play, what were any of your first impressions?
Reading The Tempest for the first time felt like stepping into a dream, strange, beautiful, and fleeting. Shakespeare's language is rich and sometimes challenging, but the way he captures the idea that all power, ambition, and even life itself are temporary made a deep impression. It felt both magical and haunting, like waking up from something you almost understand but can't fully hold on to.
Yeah, at first I really couldn't get into the play. I don't know, it wasn't like something I felt interesting at first, but once I really like went into it and had this assignment of close reading, I felt that it was really interesting and I really loved the epilogue.
One thing that really surprised me while reading The Tempest was how deeply emotional and reflective it became, especially through Prospero. I expected more magic and action, but instead, the most powerful moments were about forgiveness, letting go of anger, and accepting the end of power and life itself. I didn't expect a story about shipwrecks and sorcery to turn into such a thoughtful mediation on how human mortality and the need for compassion.
What really surprised me about The Tempest was how central forgiveness is to the ending, especially coming from Prospero. After everything he's been through, being betrayed by his own brother, cast away from home, it would have made sense for him to seek revenge, but instead he chose to forgive. It's such a powerful moment that shifts the tone of the whole play. I wasn't expecting a story so full of betrayal and manipulation to end on a note of mercy and reconciliation. In the close reading essays we wrote, Lorenzo explored how The Tempest shows the fleeting nature of power in life. Now, by closely examining Prospero's famous speech in Act 4, Scene 1, our revels now are ended, we can see how Shakespeare's use of imagery, repetition, and metaphor brings this theme to life.
In The Tempest, Shakespeare uses imagery, repetition, and metaphor to powerfully reinforce the play's themes of illusion and impermanence. The imagery and phrases like melted into air creates a vivid picture of something vanishing completely, emphasizing how easily all creations, whether magical or worldly, can disappear. Repetition, especially of words like air and dissolve, deepens the sense of everything fading away, making the idea of impermanence feel inaccessible. Shakespeare's metaphors, like we are such stuff as dreams are made on, suggest that human life itself is as fragile and insubstantial as a dream. These techniques together make the audience feel like fleeting, dreamlike nature of existence, a key message of the play. Shakespeare makes the audience think about life as a dream or illusion by showing how easily things disappear and change. In The Tempest, through Prospero's speech, he reminds us that even great things like castles, kingdoms, and magical powers are temporary and can vanish into thin air. By comparing life to a dream, especially with the line, we are such stuff as dreams are made on, he makes us question how real, lasting anything we do truly is. The magical events of the play also feel dreamlike, blurring the line between reality and illusion, and leaving the audience with the feeling that life itself might be just as fragile and passing as a dream.
Totally. And I think you know how deeply The Tempest makes us reflect on the fleeting nature of everything like power, magic, and even life itself. What really stands out to me is how Shakespeare doesn't just tell us that things are impermanent, he shows us, again and again, through the language and structure of the play. Like Prospero's big speech isn't just poetic, it's kind of haunting. And when he says the great globe itself shall dissolve, he's not just talking about his little island drama, he's talking about everything, the world, the stage, all of us. And you're right, the repetition of those airy words like melted, dissolve, and vanish makes it feel like we're watching things disappear in real time. It's like Shakespeare's reminding us that no matter how solid things might seem, our achievements, our identities, even the stories we tell, they're all temporary. They're illusions. And that's where the dream metaphor hits so hard. If life is like a dream, then maybe what really matters isn't what we build or control, but what we learn and how we let go.
Now that you've mentioned letting go, we can move forward and talk about your close reading essay that focused on Act 5, Scene 1. This is one of the more emotional and final scenes of The Tempest. Shakespeare presents forgiveness not as a passive act, but as an active choice that empowers both the forgiver and the forgiven. This moment marks the emotional climax of the play as Prospero, who used magic to control nature and people, ultimately chooses to give up his power in favor of moral clarity and human connection.
Yeah, so the Tempest presents forgiveness not only as an act of mercy towards others, but as a way for Prospero to free himself from the burdens of anger, revenge, and isolation. As mentioned in Stephen Greenblatt's book, Will in the Wild, the play is not about possessing absolute power, but giving it up. As the scene begins, it opens with Ariel describing the emotional suffering of the shipwrecked nobles. Ariel tells Prospero that if he saw them now, your affections would become tender. This moment is important because it is not just a magical spirit talking, it's a representation of Prospero's own evolving conscience. Ariel becomes the mirror that reflects back Prospero's humanity, urging him to move beyond vengeance. The tenderness Ariel speaks of is not weakness, it's a moral high ground that elevates Prospero above his enemies. Prospero's response, the rarer action is in virtue than in vengeance, expresses Shakespeare's central message that strength lies in the ability to forgive. By using the word rarer, it suggests that such virtue is not only exceptional, but also more admirable than common impulse for revenge. His shift in values is interesting given that much of the play has been driven by Prospero's desire for revenge. Immediately after deciding to forgive, Prospero prepares to give up his magical powers, symbolizing a rejection of dominance. This signals not just an end of his magic, but an end to his identity he has clung to out of fear and pain. Prospero's ability to forgive gives him control over not others, but over his own soul.
What makes this moment even more powerful is that it aligns personal transformation with communal healing. By choosing forgiveness, Prospero restores both political order and emotional balance. He allows the younger generation, Ferdinand and Miranda, to inherit a world not shaped by old grievances, but by the peace and mutual respect.
As we slowly come to an end on this episode, is there any last takes or anything else you'd like to say about the play?
One of my takes is that while Shakespeare shows life as fleeting like a dream, I also see a quite hopefulness in it that even though life fades, it's still beautiful while it lasts. Another take is that Prospero's choice to forgive even after losing everything suggests that how we live matters, even if it's temporary. Shakespeare focuses on endings, but I think he also quietly celebrates the brief wonder of being alive.
I love that perspective, and I think you're totally right. There is a quiet hopefulness underneath all the talk of vanishing and dreams. I've been leaning into the idea that forgiveness in The Tempest is actually Shakespeare's way of giving us something solid in the middle of all the fleetingness. Like, yeah, everything fades, power, magic, even life, but the act of forgiveness, that's something that really actually lasts within us. It's almost like the play is saying you can't control everything, but you can choose how to carry your pain. That choice, even in a short life, really matters.
Another thing to add is that in modern life, Shakespeare's idea that everything is temporary fades even more true. Just like the cloud capped towers in The Tempest, things we think are permanent, like fame, success, or even huge cities, can disappear quickly with time, war, or disaster. Social media also shows how fast trends and people's attentions come and go, almost like dreams fading. Shakespeare's message reminds us today not to get attached to power or status because everything, even now, is still just stuff's dreams are made on.
That's such a good point. I hadn't thought about how, in terms of social media, but you're so right. Trends, fame, even the whole online identities can vanish overnight, just like the illusions Prospero creates. It really shows how Shakespeare's themes still hit today. What I'd add is that because things are so temporary now, there's even more value in being intentional with how we treat people.
As we end the episode, I just wanted to quickly summarize that The Tempest shows that life, power, and human achievements are temporary, like dreams. Shakespeare uses imagery, repetition, and metaphor to make the audience feel the fragility of existence. Prospero's journey teaches The forgiveness and acceptance matter more than control, and even today, the idea that everything eventually fades still feels true.
Thank you, Lorenzo. And thank you to everyone that tuned in. The Tempest really gives us a lot to think about, not just about magic and revenge, but about how we live, let go, and connect with others. So, yeah, life is a dream, but what we do within that dream, like choosing compassion over control, makes all the difference. Until next time, and take care, everyone.